Over the past 4 years, the second step on the podium in Paris has been the preserve of two men. Cadel Evans stood here in 2007 and 2008. Andy Schleck took over for 2009 and 2010. By the end of today, one of them will have earned the right to move slightly left and crucially upwards. Andy Schleck is on the top step as things stand, having taken the yellow jersey yesterday for the first time in his career. The question is, can he keep it in today's time trial? So the race for the podium is open, but the battle for the top step should come down to the men who are currently first and third. Evans is the better time trialist, and his immediate reaction at the finish yesterday seemed to indicate that he thought he'd done enough in staying with his rival all the way up Alpe d'Huez and keeping the margin to 57 seconds. But he wasn't keen to hang around and discuss his chances, and didn't sound particularly optimistic with what he did offer over his right shoulder.
I've been in the same position twice before, and I failed twice before, so my odds aren't that great.
Strictly speaking, he's right, but both those failures had bigger margins against better time trialists. In 2007, he trailed Alberto Contador by 1:50 going into the time trial, and got all but 23 seconds of it back to lose the race by the second smallest margin in Tour history. The following year, he needed 1:34 on Carlos Sastre. It looked more achievable, but he pulled back only 29 seconds to be runner-up again. Schleck has been working on his time trialling, but that's because his time trialling needs work. In 2009, he lost 1:45 to Alberto Contador against the clock, and the race overall by more than 4 minutes. Last year, though, he surprised everyone, conceding only 31 seconds to Contador in the final time trial and losing the Tour itself by 39. Andy couldn't duck questions about the time trial yesterday because he was in the yellow jersey and had to fulfil his media duties.
57 seconds in the time trial on Cadel. Confident?
Yes.
You've been working hard on that. That was a big area of improvement this year, wasn't it?
Every second counts, and I worked a lot in time trial, and I go full gas tomorrow and hope it's enough.
Now here's the course which is going to decide this year's Tour de France, a 42.5-kilometre loop starting and finishing in Grenoble. And since there was no prologue this year, those kilometres are the only ones of individual time trialling during the entire race. The course does have a couple of hills on it, which means a couple of descents, and as predicted yesterday, the organisers have put in an extra time check to go with the ones on the map. They're at 15, 27.5 and 37 kilometres. It's exactly the same time trialled course as in the Dauphiné in June, but after 3,300 kilometres of racing, even those who've ridden it before won't have the same legs.
We all know that time trialling is ostensibly about aerodynamic positions and kit, but there's other things that can influence the outcome. How about psychology, memory and traffic? Can you imagine waking up in the morning and knowing that there's going to be up to 15 million people about to watch you ride, that there's absolutely no way of escaping? This is going to be the most painful experience that you've ever had. And after 3 weeks and 3,300 kilometres of racing, this race is going to be decided in 55 minutes. Being able to know that and not be overwhelmed by it is a massive part of being the best in the world. Back in June, we saw some of these athletes tackle this very same circuit in the Criterium Dauphiné time trial. On that day, we saw some images of riders, some of who desperately needed to post a fast time, breaking into blind corners that in fact had room for a flat-out exit. Researching and memorising this course could be worth the best part of a minute here in Grenoble, particularly if we have any more showers. And what about traffic? Well, it's said that the wearer of the yellow jersey suddenly becomes more capable, and I think that's true, but perhaps not for the emotive reasons that some people think. The one rider guaranteed to be surrounded by vehicles is the leader. It's not a well-known fact, but a barrage of cars, even behind, will create a pressure wave that pushes the rider along. And motorbikes, even 30 metres away, offer considerable protection to the athlete. So how are those three things going to influence the performance of our favourites, Andy Schleck and Cadel Evans? Well, one of them, traffic, is beyond their control, but the other two aren't. It's worth noting that Cadel rode this course in that race back in June, so that's one up to Cadel for memory. Whilst Andy, setting off last, he's going to have the advantage of that traffic support. Leaving psychology. Both of these riders have arguably lost this race twice before due to time trial performances. One of them is going to break that trend today, while the other is going to make it a hat-trick.
Cadel Evans, he looks ahead, what does he see? A yellow jersey and the Arc de Triomphe? Or is he going to be beaten by Andy Schleck? Two great cyclists who've gone head-to-head for 21 days. It's come down to 42.5 kilometres.
Impressive speed here. We're looking at 80 kilometres an hour on the clock, and as we look up, we're looking onto the back of Tony Martin.
55.33 is the best time for Tony Martin, and that is going to take some beating. He's always feared Cadel Evans, and he's always said it. The Maillot Jaune of the Tour de France on the eve of its end in Paris is on the road.
Well, just a quick look at the computer there, Phil. They were showing that Cadel Evans at this point had already pulled back around about 10 seconds on Andy Schleck.
Are we witnessing the first ever winner of the Tour de France of Australia? 12 seconds is now the gap virtual. He's already pulled back 45 seconds of his 57 deficit. They are equal on time, Cadel Evans and Andy Schleck.
They're turning it over now. 1 second advantage to Cadel Evans over Andy Schleck. Now this is going to be a huge battle all the way down on the run-in towards the finish.
Evans, look at his face here. He is riding to win the Tour de France for Australia today. And he's only 7 seconds slower than Tony Martin. As the clock continues to count now towards the finish at this next checkpoint for Andy Schleck. He goes through with a time of 42.15. He's 2 minutes 18 behind Cadel Evans. Cadel Evans cannot be beaten now. He is over a minute to the good. He has absolutely slaughtered his opposition. His time is 55.40. It's second best on the day, but he's won the Tour de France. He had hoped the magic of the yellow jersey would have brought him victory tomorrow in Paris. The magic hasn't worked on this occasion, but one of the most popular men in the world of cycling is racing home to close down this incredible stage of the Tour de France, which has seen an Australian get the final yellow jersey to ride to Paris in tomorrow.
20 years since I watched my very first Tour de France on TV, and 20 years I've been cycling. It's a lot of hard work from me, a lot of hard work from a lot of people. Well, not as many as most people think, but some really great people who have believed in me in all this time, and it just makes it all the more worthwhile, I think, when you succeed in the ambitious goals that we've set for ourselves.